And speaking of the list building lifestyle, I'm like at a cabin in the woods right now, which, is really all thanks to sending emails.
Exactly. Send emails, make money. That's the life. Welcome back to the List Building Lifestyle. I'm your host, Igor Kheifets, and I'm really struggling with my voice today, but I'm still going to host this episode because today I'm hosting none other than Katoni. And I've been trying to get her for months on the show. We kept rescheduling, kept delaying, things weren't working out, but we're finally here. And if you don't know who Alex is, she's widely considered to be a very good, let's just keep it, downplay this, very good copywriter. She actually runs one of the largest copywriting communities on the internet. She's been featured in Forbes, Mindvalley, and Founder magazine. She used to run Mindvalley's marketing department and helped grow it by 300%. She actually rose from being a support rep all the way to the marketing director or marketing in chief, and then eventually branched out to start her own company. And recently, she's been crowned the 2022 Marketer of the Year by Digital Marketer. I guess that means something. So, Alex, welcome to the List Building Lifestyle.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. And speaking of the list building lifestyle, I'm like at a cabin in the woods right now, which, is really all thanks to sending emails.
Exactly. Send emails, make money. That's the life. I mean, I don't know of anything else that just in general, copywriting is great because what else allows you to put words on paper or on a website or in an email, and then people just send you money. Like it's almost alchemy, right?
I always say that it's the number one skill that I think, obviously I'm biased, but you need nothing but a laptop and a Google Doc. You don't need fancy tech skills. You don't need any software. You don't need any apps. You don't need a super strong internet connection. As long as you, have enough internet to load a Google Doc, then you can take your copywriting business anywhere, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and I know some copywriters who are really terrible with their computers too. Like all they can do is literally send emails and, maybe join an occasional Zoom call.
Right.
I've hosted some of them on the show because they're like legends in the space. But then, when I was trying to get them on like a separate Zoom call, maybe get them here in Riverside where we record, they tend to run into trouble and really, it's like calling their assistant on like a telephone that goes like where you have to go like that. You're like,
Beep, beep, beep.
it doesn't work.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I've been looking at your website and you got a mission statement and it states that you're on a mission to de-douchify the internet. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, I'm a copywriter, so I know, the importance of creating some polarity and getting attention. Honestly, that kind of came organically after I started the Copy Posse. I didn't have that mission fully crystallized into those exact words when I started my community, but why I started the Copy Posse was because I had been, after leaving Mindvalley in 2011 and starting my marketing consulting and copywriting business, I, like many people I'm sure who have, gone into a new industry or started something new, at first you're like, oh my God, excited. I thought everybody was incredible. I thought nobody lies on the internet. And then nobody. And then I, started to notice a really dangerous divide happening in the industry where there were a lot of really amazing, authentic marketers with great products and great communities.
Like me?
Yes, of course.
Yes.
And then there were a lot of people who literally were just coming up with shadier and shadier ways to make more money. And I just remember feeling really disheartened by that. And then the other thing I noticed was, despite, because I come from a personal development background and coming from Mindvalley where, the majority of the executive team were all women, I knew so many incredible, women copywriters and marketers. Yet when you typed copywriting into YouTube, like all you saw were guys teaching it. And I was like, okay, I learned from all of them. Like, that's amazing. But like, I talk to so many women who don't think that copywriting is for them because somehow they're not being represented online. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, I can either cut and run, go to law school, like, my initial plan, or I can start talking about
Wait, you
how
gave up law school for this?
I gave up law school for this.
What did your
Yeah.
parents say?
You know what? They were so supportive. I
Really?
think
Wow. Okay.
it was baby steps though. I wasn't like, Mom and Dad, F law school. I'm just going to go work overseas. It was more like, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to put law school on hold for 6 months and then go do this internship overseas, but then I'm going to come back and do law school. And then, of course, the rest is history. I discovered internet marketing. I discovered personal development. I started working on myself. I started traveling the world. And it was like, why would I ever do anything else, right? So I had this, very strong calling to start talking about how to use marketing in a way that I felt like I believe marketers and copywriters, like, we have the power to change the world. Every movement, every campaign, everything that's ever, spurred an emotion or desire in you to take action, after reading something is copywriting. And there's so many incredible ways to use it to make a difference in people's lives and in the world. And yes, make money. We all love money. I love money. It's great. But, how can we change the face of marketing? And so I started talking about this. And it wasn't until, sometime in my first year, as I started building my community and I was getting really fired up about changing the face of marketing and going, okay, posse, like, that was why I called it the posse. I'm like, I want us to feel like this global army of really amazing people who are out there, like, doing the work and changing the way marketing is done. And it just fell out of my mouth. I said, we want to, like, de-douchify the internet. And the response that I got from my community was like, oh my God. And I was like, okay, that struck a chord with people. So I just finessed my mission to those beautiful, short 3 words. And that's how it came to be.
Well, I think you nailed it.
Thank you.
Because it resonates instantly. There's no ambiguity about it either. Like, everybody can probably assign a meaning to that statement that it means the most to them.
It's
Yeah, I
specific,
love
but
it.
it's relatable because everyone can think of a time
Yeah.
in their lives where they were duped by some sort of, misleading marketing, forced continuity, fine print, hypey clickbait. I mean, we can all think of that experience, and it's not nice, and it evokes emotion. So
Yeah, what I don't like about it, about the way the industry works, is after a potential customer, who's a potential customer for me, but was a customer of somebody else and they put them through that experience, they come in with that baggage. It's
super
almost like,
skeptical. Yeah.
yeah, it's almost like trying to like approach a woman in a bar that's just been burned by 3 guys, and she's like lost all hope in men, but she
Yes.
still hopes to find love. So all of a sudden, you find yourself having a conversation with lots of barriers that you don't even know you're dealing with.
100%. And that happens to me all the time and I think that's, I mean, we can talk a little bit about where I think the future of marketing is going, but people are taking longer to make buying decisions now
Hmm.
for 2 reasons. There's way more options available. So, like, you're not the only one who teaches email marketing. I'm not the only one who teaches copywriting and email marketing. Like, people now have so many options. Like, how long does it take you to pick a Netflix movie every night? Like, there's
Oh,
such,
it's easy. I just go for what I know. I just watch The Office all over
you
again.
know what? That's my go-to when I'm like, I just need background noise and I don't want to be super committed to it. I'm just going to put on The Office. Totally. We're probably like around the same age because I think that, like, that's like just my safe space is The Office. But
Yeah,
anyway,
right. It's amazing. It's so unique
but
too.
it's funny as hell too. But yeah, so there's so many options. And then to your point, people are skeptical because they're like, oh, I've purchased so many things online and, like, people don't deliver on what they say. And so you really do feel like you're having to show up consistently, add value, and build trust over a longer period of time before someone takes action. But the beautiful thing about that is once you're able to get there with a customer, and for us, it takes on average over 30 days for someone to buy from us, they're with us for life, and that to me is how marketing is really shifting. And I get so frustrated. Like, obviously I won't mention names, but I was at a mastermind at one point, like last year or something, and I'm sitting at a bar with this incredibly intoxicated marketer who I've known for a while. And, I could tell I was ruffling his feathers by what I'm talking about now, which is, by the way, my mission only offends people who are doing shady shit. Like, that's the only people it offends. But, he literally said to me, I have to do scammier and spammier shit to make the same amount of money as I did before. And it's like, excuse me? Like, why not actually look at how the market is changing and how the market is making decisions differently and adapt that way, as opposed to it's a race to the bottom if you're just literally trying. And I mean, at that point I got up and left the conversation, because it's like, he's the reason why I literally exist and why I have the business that I do. And it's unfortunate, and it's still the reality out there for a lot of
it kind of reminds me, have you ever read, what's that book called, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes, like ages ago.
It's that, right? Isn't it? Like, because he was making, or she was making, a lot of money, and then the cheese moved, and now they're complaining about the cheese being moved, so they have to they're trying to do the same thing to get the result instead of adapting. For me, it was actually quite the opposite, because I started out, and I didn't know any better, and I honestly was willing to do anything just to make money. So I would try anything. Mm-hmm. And at one point, I did something really scammy. So I found an email sending tool, which doesn't exist anymore. Actually, it was called Imnica Mail, and the way their interface worked is you could set up a brand new from name and from email as you were loading the email as well. So you could literally make shit up. Like, they didn't ask you to confirm your addresses, to nothing. You could make anything up. So at the time, I was also going on the Warrior Forum a lot. Right. It was like my go-to place for advice before they got bought out by Freelancer, and then kind of went downhill from there for me for some reason. Almost like a rock band that used to play a certain type of music and then just switched, and you're like, I don't connect with that anymore. So I just started sending out emails as if these are Warrior Forum private messages, because I knew everybody was on the Warrior Forum in the internet marketing community, and I would literally recommend products from the Warrior special offer section. And they were always like $5, $10, $20. They were all cheap, but some of them paid 100% commission, some of them paid 50%. Right. So I would send an email to maybe 50,000 people like that. And all of a sudden, I would get 50 sales. Mm-hmm. And it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then I got shut down. And then about 2 years later, the owner of the Warrior Forum reached out to me and be like, hey, I was just told that you're doing this scammy shit. And so, we're kicking you out. And at the time, I was running ads on the Warrior Forum for my coaching program, and I was doing really well. So I was like, no, please, I'm begging you. So I'm confessing to him. It's like, no, I did it a couple of years ago. I was a shithead. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a big mistake. I don't do it anymore. And so he let it slide. But, for me, the evolution was exactly the opposite. Starting with the shady shit, and then kind of gradually learning the proper principles to building a long-term business, a long-term income, connection with your customers, getting people who are with you for life. I mean, there's some people on my list. We just launched a new program, and everyone who joined it, about 100 people, were all existing customers.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
that's what we see too. About 80% of our revenue from new programs we release comes from existing customers. And I love that. And by the way, thank you for your transparency. I think most people would never want to admit I was the one doing some of that scammy shit. But I think the analogy that I think of is I get it. It's low hanging fruit. And in the beginning, anytime there's that, there's that adage. It's anytime there's a new technology or something, it's internet marketers are going to just ruin it because they're going to find a way to be sleazy with it, and then it's going to get shut down. And that's why when I think of true marketing and building your business, you don't want to think of this cockroach this is just constantly running to a new dark spot every time a light is shone on it. It's really about getting ahead of it.
Damn, you got good visuals. The cockroach that's running into another dark spot. Wow.
That could be the title of this podcast. Don't be a cockroach. Yeah.
Yes.
But I think like there are a lot of people who that's how they learn to do marketing. It's like, oh, it's like, I'm going to use this new technology until I can't use it anymore, because eventually people are going to find me out and I'm going to then have to go find something else.
Yeah.
It's like, God, to me, that sounds like so much work. That sounds
And
like
the
so
stress of having to look
stressful.
over your shoulder all the time.
Exactly. Like, I know I've worked with clients in the past, or I've, had, peers in the industry that it's just like the constant threat of your ad account getting shut down. And like, that's still a thing, we all know that, but
Oh no, ad accounts get shut down even if you're not scamming.
exactly. But
It's just
obviously the
crazy.
likelihood of it goes, and when we say scammy, like obviously it's a spectrum. Like there's full blown like scams. Like I'm
Oh,
going
wait,
to
so you're
rip you
saying
off.
being scammy is kind of like being autistic?
You went there. I didn't. I think that like people always ask me well, what is douchiness on the internet? I'm like, you can define it in whichever way you want. Like for me, there's impersonators, content stealers. There's the real like fraudsters who, anyone who has info products knows what I'm talking about, where it's like whack-a-mole, like constantly trying to get these people to stop stealing your crap and scamming your followers. And I mean, it's never ending. But then there's this like gray area of like, really, it's up to you to decide. And for me, the way I define it is like, ultimately, if I was on the receiving end of this marketing, how would it make me feel? Because I think the old school mentality of marketing was like, I don't want to say old school, like everyone did this back in the day, but it was so novel. Like the internet was so novel. So all you really needed to do was to be like, do you have this problem? I can solve it for you. Click here and then buy my shit. And people did it because it was like, whoa. But the market is getting savvier and savvier and savvier. And so we need to stop treating people like idiots, because they're not idiots and they're smart, maybe smarter than us.